Have you ever wondered what occurs when you say yes to something, which is the most unexpected thing? Imagine everything getting out of hand when your wife suggests an open marriage. I had the same experience. It was my wife who requested it. However, after I eventually consented, things took a turn that neither of us anticipated. I'll take you through every step of how that choice brought us to a path I never imagined we'd take: divorce, in this video. Are you prepared to hear the whole story? Let's get started. This year my wife turns 42 and I turn 45. We met while I was doing my master's degree, and we have been married for almost 20 years. I would say that our marriage has gone well for the most part. Many of my friends have experienced their marriages finally failing. I've been a little proud that it hasn't happened to me, even though I know it's one of those things that happens far more frequently now than it did in the past. Fortunately, my teenage children appear to benefit from having both parents, just as I did. However, I am writing this since it appears that things may change. I would make many concessions in an attempt to make things work, but I'm not stupid enough to want a secure marriage so much that I would allow myself to be cheated on. Call me archaic, but I am who I am, especially at this relationship stage. My wife Florence came to me and said she wanted to propose that we open our marriage, which is why it was such a significant issue. That idea, when you look at other people's plates and feel safe in the knowledge that it won't happen to you, has always made me laugh. I've always been that way about open partnerships. Although our bedroom life isn't fascinating, it is fulfilling, and Florence consistently gave off the impression that she just wanted what I could provide. That was how it felt. I can very clearly recall her telling me she needed to speak with me about something important while I was simply sitting there watching the game. Then, she expressed her desire for our marriage to be more exciting. My initial assumption was that she was looking for a vacation, or at worst, to work out some kinks she may have been holding inside. However, she unexpectedly revealed that she wanted us to start dating other people. I was perplexed when she stated it that way, but she later clarified that she requested we start a marriage. I was so confused because I had never even remotely considered that idea and was at a loss for words. Since I couldn't respond to her immediately, I told her I would give it some thought. "I'm so bored. Think about it," she continued before getting up. "I'm so tired of how things are between us." Although I had several issues with that, I chose to remain silent because I was unaware of our relationship. Indeed, we had found ourselves in a groove, as all long-married couples do, but I don't think that is good. How she said sounded so severe, almost like a threat, even though she hadn't said anything or shown any signs of unhappiness. What specifically would happen if I answered no? It was several days before we discussed it. I gave it some serious thought. I attempted to assess the advantages and disadvantages and use logic. It would not be brilliant to claim that I had never seen a lady who was appealing to me during our long marriage, but I always kept my word when it did happen. The farther you go without even considering the possibility of cheating, the easier it becomes. If I accepted her proposal, it wouldn't be the worst thing to happen because I still care for myself and go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. It's usually more difficult for the man in an open relationship, even though I know I could get some activity. But then I considered the flip side. It was not a good idea for other men to plow my wife. If you've ever experienced infidelity, as I did in a past relationship, it's nearly impossible to avoid thinking about it in great detail. However, when you consider the big picture, I believe it helps because there's no purpose in forgiving someone who cheats on you. In any case, I honestly considered every possibility. I did my best to consider the circumstances, even though it was apparent that I didn't want it. I tried to look at the upside if I did grant her request. I truly wanted to say no, so when I finally brought it up again with her, I asked her what would happen if I did. I assured her that I didn't have a strong desire to sleep with anyone else and that I only needed her. After a silence, she admitted that she wasn't sure but was certain she wanted something new or different. It was devastating to hear that after spending so much time in the comfort of that marriage. It's evident that there was some emotional blackmail going on, so I know a lot of you will attack me, but believe me when I say that it's easier said than done. I've known this woman for a significant portion of my life. Therefore, I finally consented to it, even if you're disappointed in me. Although she appeared content with it, I didn't discuss the topic again. The one rule, she explained, was that we were not allowed to bring anyone home, mainly since we had kids. That infuriated me, since I believed that we shouldn't have been attempting this pointless experiment in the first place because we still had kids living at home. I didn't even have complete proof that she had abused the new arrangement after a whole month had passed. Part of what kills me is not knowing. I'm constantly worrying whether she's coming from another guy's place when she returns, even if it's a bit late. I can't even get myself to go out and start dating or looking into my alternatives, which is the hardest part. I genuinely believe I made a mistake, but I know I'll have to at some point. I've been criticized for not simply walking away from her or standing my ground when she said all of that. I acknowledge that I made a mistake, but to be honest, I still believe that it is difficult, particularly when you are not in my position. You'll understand how difficult it can be to find yourself in my shoes. My only options are to inform her that I've changed my mind or proceed with our new relationship rules. I guess I could get used to this. I'll see which of the two appeals to me. I'm laughing at myself for being so disgusted at first. I suppose I can say that a positive thing came about due to my weakness. About a month and a few weeks after the whole thing began, I told my wife I wasn't a massive fan of the idea and hadn't tried anything with anyone. She merely urged me to put myself out there without suggesting I stop things because I didn't enjoy them. However, she appeared quite content that she was eating her cake and having it, so I knew she didn't mean it. She must have been sleeping with other people by then, and she was relieved that she didn't have to worry about me doing the same. Furthermore, even though we share a bed, this began before we slept together. The idea of sleeping with her after someone else might have done so really annoyed me. The day she left her phone next to me and went to take out the garbage is when I believe my perspective altered. In the brief time I had to look through her group chat with her pals, I noticed that she was talking about how the last guy she had dated was terrible in bed, but the one before that had been fantastic. One of her buddies then commented on how wonderful it was that I wasn't abusing it. It was annoying enough to see her talking about how she had slept with other men, but what annoyed me was being made fun of in that conversation. Therefore, I decided to start putting myself out there immediately at that very moment. I downloaded Tinder and decided to spend the evening at a nearby bar. Let's just say I had a good time. I could track down a young blonde and enjoyed a night out that I doubt I've had since college. I know I look good even though I look my age. I believe younger women with daddy issues find me appealing since I maintain my physical fitness. I was in a terrific mood that evening. I believe my wife Florence noticed I couldn't help it. She persisted in trying to get information about the bar but remained silent about it. She seemed to have a strong suspicion of what had transpired, so I gave her the bare minimum of answers and could see her mood drop. However, after she returned the first time and attempted to update me on her night, I instituted a new rule. I told her that I didn't want to know anything about her or other men, but I still thought that was just plain dumb of her. I'd rather not know. This was working against her since she immediately consented. Our new arrangement has been in place for a few months, and I believe I've settled into it. I make it plain that I'm not searching for anything serious, and I receive a lot of matches on my dating apps. I find that attracting younger girls for casual flings is relatively easy. I've spent time with some older women, but I wouldn't say I like that they want things to be more serious. What can I say then? I can't complain because I'm finding things to be pretty enjoyable. The problem is that my wife doesn't seem to like it at all. Perhaps she envisioned an open partnership in which she would receive every male she wanted, and I would get no action. It didn't entirely turn out that way for her, did it? She wanted this, so I agreed even though I wouldn't say I liked it in the first place. It was a fairly fantastic deal for me despite my foolish compromise. Every time I returned home from a late night, I could see her becoming increasingly agitated and going out less. I had to find out what was happening. Therefore, I decided to chat with her girls late one evening while she was asleep. A part of me was incredibly amused and satisfied, and another felt awful. She said, "I almost hate him when he walks in with a stupid grin." But they also discussed many other feminine topics. I'm not even finding the men I want, wondering if I want to continue doing this. There was also a grainy photo showing one of her pals spotted me strolling around town with a younger girl. I recognized the clothes, and knew it was me. That discovery infuriated my wife, and all her friends came up with the harshest names to call the unnamed girl, which I thought was funny. Her crime was being spotted with someone in an open marriage, even though they didn't know her. Because of all of this, I secretly laughed when my wife confided in me one day that she no longer wanted to have an open marriage. I thought that was hilarious when she mentioned that she had tried it out, but that it wasn't quite her vibe and that she realized, the only person I need is you. Her reaction to my telling her that I wasn't quite ready to let go of it was adverse. Given that I wouldn't say I liked it previously, she said she didn't believe it was worth discussing. Since I had no other option, I informed her I had finally seen the light. I was a little snarky when I stated that. That didn't sit well with her. That's terrible because you'll have to make a difficult choice. That was a brave statement, but she understands how much I cherish our marriage. It's either we go back to the way things were, or we're not going to be doing this marriage thing any longer. It was the same kind of emotional coercion she used to persuade me to consent to it in the first place. The problem is that enraged me. She had achieved what she wanted in the first place, and now I was the bad guy because I had finally gotten used to it and began to love it more than she did. She was pulling me about. I told her I would think about it like the first time, but I knew I was done. I'm unsure whether it was expanding my horizons or that I became so enraged at her attempts to control me that it helped me realize that I don't need to be at her mercy. I will give her what she wants, even though it might be both. I will ensure I give her everything she wants, even though I know I could cave in when things go out of control. And it's okay if it doesn't work out. After cherishing our marriage for too long, I am asked to reopen it. Could there be any more incredible disrespect? She detested the fact that I was enjoying myself when I gave up that and began to become involved. She only wanted to cheat on me and not feel guilty about it, which is why I've started to see her differently. I'm going to start the divorce process, and we're going to see how all of that I need a pat on the back right now. I did it, I stuck to it, and I'm here to tell you all how it went. I talked to a divorce lawyer, arranged divorce papers, and talked to Florence about a week after we had that heated conversation. I told her that I hadn't thought about everything as best I could, and I had made a decision. Then I pushed the papers towards her. She didn't need to open the envelope to tell what was inside, and she was incredulous. I think she had 100% convinced herself that I didn't have the balls to do it. That's my fault because I've sort of presented myself like that through the time we've spent together. I was glad to prove her wrong this one time, though. She asked if it was a joke. I told her it wasn't. She asked what about us, and I told her that there was hardly a US anymore. Things changed with the open marriage that we'd never get back. She started saying that we could keep the open marriage and she wouldn't complain anymore. She also said she didn't mean what she meant when we talked about ending the openness, but I told her that she did mean it. But she thought I'd back down, like I always do. Not this time, though. No, ma'am, we spoke back and forth on it for like 30 minutes, and I think it finally clicked to her that I was actually serious. That's when the waterworks started. So I left the room and went to sit on the porch. She came to try and beg one more time, but I didn't really want any of it, so she left me without saying a word. She made the divorce process as stressful as she could. She didn't sign the papers until the very end. And then when it came to actually negotiating terms, she was just trying to hurt me. Every chance that she got, imagine saying that she wanted my single signed vinyl record. But none of the other ones. It was an absolute relief when things ended. I have to pay alimony, which sucks, and our custody of the children is 50-50, but they're old enough for it not to matter too much to me. They took it okay for the most part. I know it still hurts her, but she tries and acts tough through it all, any time that we see each. One of my daughters said that they heard her crying when they were at her new place. It felt good hearing that, but I didn't let it show. It also didn't help when I accidentally sent her a cute selfie I took with a cute bartender. I deleted it within a few minutes, but only when I was sure she saw it. I won't say I have zero regrets, but the ones that I do have, I'm learning to live with. I think the marriage has served its purpose in my life, so I'm moving on to better things. She is still attempting to dominate the story, as evidenced by the waterworks, the deceptive divorce conditions, and her attempts to hang on to small items like my vinyl record. However, I persisted. I'm here for it, even though that unintentional pic with the bartender was vicious. Cheers to better things in the future. I feel like I'm on the rise and in a much better place now. Remember to click the subscribe button if you like the story and want to hear more updates, analysis, and first-hand accounts. Your encouragement is appreciated and keeps me sharing. I'll see you in the following video, so stay tuned and let's keep going.